There's a kind of idealism in leadership that begins as a gift. It energizes teams, inspires vision, and gives people something to rally around. But idealism has a shadow side, and when it goes unchecked, it becomes one of the most damaging forces in a leadership culture. It happens quietly. A leader begins to trust their own instincts more than the collective wisdom of their team. They start believing their perspective is the clearest, their intuition the sharpest, their vision the purest. And slowly the space between their ideals and the team's counsel widens into what we call the wisdom gap. This gap is dangerous because it doesn't look like failure, it looks like conviction, like clarity, it looks like strength. But underneath, it's a form of narrow-mindedness that blinds leaders to the complexity of the world around them. Reality is not something a leader defines. It's something a team must make sense of together. Reality is perspectival, shifting and shaped by forces no single person can fully grasp. When a leader tries to define it alone, they inevitably distort it. Many of us have experienced the pain of this distortion. We've sat in meetings where ideas were explored, perspectives were shared, and a collective direction emerged, only to have a leader return later with a unilateral decision that ignored the entire conversation. In those moments, people feel dismissed, undervalued, and disempowered. The team's effort becomes irrelevant, and trust begins to erode. Idealism becomes toxic when it elevates one person's perspective above the community's wisdom. It shows up in moral absolutism, where a leader frames their values as universally right. It shows up in defensiveness, where dissent is labeled as immaturity or misalignment. It shows up in performative virtue, where leaders speak about integrity or equity but avoid accountability. It shows up in emotional rigidity, where discomfort is spiritualized instead of engaged. And it shows up in isolation, where decisions are made alone because the leader believes their ideals justify bypassing collaboration. The first step toward healing this culture is lament. Lament honors the wounds caused by idealism. It gives leaders space to confess and reflect without fear of disgrace. It gives teams space to mourn the ways they've been sidelined. Lament affirms the humanity of everyone involved and opens the door to reconciliation. Idealism is not the enemy, but idealism without humility becomes a cancer. Humility is what allows wisdom to circulate freely on a team. It is the posture that says, I don't know everything, but together we can discern the way forward. That is the beginning of real leadership.